1944, Death Valley, California. A team of explorers claimed they entered a cavern filled with 9-foot human skeletons wearing strange armor. Within weeks, every photograph vanished. Every witness fell silent. Every government agency denied the expedition ever existed. But this was not the first time. For 200 years, identical bones surfaced on every continent. And by the end of this video, you will understand why one specific institution spent decades making sure you never saw them. The pattern spans the globe. Ohio farmers plowing burial mounds in 1872 uncovered skeletons over 8 feet long. Wisconsin newspapers documented 18 giant skeletons unearthed in a single dig near Lake Delavan in 1912. Reports flooded in from Nevada, Arizona, Tennessee, and West Virginia. Each story followed the same chilling structure. The bones were measured. The bones were photographed. The bones were shipped to authorities for study. And then, without exception, the bones simply disappeared from the historical record. To understand the mystery, we must first understand the mound builders. Across the American Midwest stand thousands of earthen pyramids and burial mounds, some older than Egypt. Mainstream archaeology attributes them to ancestors of modern Native American tribes. But early settlers who excavated these mounds in the 1800s described something different. They described chambers containing skeletons of impossible proportions, buried with copper plates, strange inscriptions, and weapons no ordinary human could wield. The first widely documented discovery came in 1798. Conneaut, Ohio. Workers clearing land for the first cemetery struck human remains buried in orderly rows. The skeletons measured between 7 and 9 feet in length. Jawbones fit over the faces of full-grown men with room to spare. The town historian recorded everything meticulously. Aaron Wright, a respected community founder, personally measured the bones. His detailed notes survive in local archives. The bones themselves do not. Then came the Smithsonian. Founded in 1846, the institution quickly became the central repository for North American archaeological finds. Newspaper reports from the late 1800s repeatedly mention giant skeletons being shipped to Washington for analysis. The Smithsonian acknowledged receipt in many cases. Yet today, the institution categorically denies possessing any such remains. Researchers who have filed Freedom of Information requests describe walls of bureaucratic silence, missing inventory logs, and entire collections marked simply as relocated. Investigator Vine Deloria Jr., a respected Native American scholar, accused the Smithsonian directly. He alleged a deliberate policy beginning in the late 19th century to suppress evidence that contradicted the accepted timeline of human migration to the Americas. The New York Times, the Chicago Tribune, the Washington Post, all printed credible articles describing giant skeletons throughout the 1800s. These were not tabloids. These were the most trusted newspapers in America. And then, almost overnight, the stories stopped appearing. The artifacts found alongside the bones deepen the mystery. In Spiro, Oklahoma, excavators uncovered copper headdresses sized for skulls far larger than any normal human. In a burial mound near Toledo, 20 skeletons appeared in a circle, each with a copper crown placed deliberately on the brow. The metalwork showed sophisticated craftsmanship. The arrangement suggested ritual. The size suggested something we have no scientific category to name. Then there is Death Valley. In 1947, a man named Howard Hill held a press conference in Los Angeles. He claimed an expedition led by Dr. F. Bruce Russell had discovered a vast underground city beneath the desert. Inside, they found mummified remains of humans over 8 feet tall, dressed in animal hides cut to fit their massive frames. The Los Angeles Times printed the story. The expedition vanished. Dr. Russell died under unexplained circumstances shortly afterward. The phenomenon is not confined to America. In the Caucasus Mountains of Georgia, archaeologists in 2008 uncovered skeletons measuring nearly 9 feet. Unlike the American discoveries, these bones were studied openly. Researchers at Borjomi National Park photographed and catalogued the remains. Yet within months, international media coverage faded. The bones were quietly transferred. Independent researchers attempting to access them today report that the specimens are unavailable for examination, pending further analysis that never seems to conclude. Patagonia tells the same story in older words. When Magellan's crew first landed on the southern tip of South America in 1520, they described encountering natives so tall the Europeans barely reached their waists. The chronicler Antonio Pigafetta wrote that the Spaniards named the land Patagonia, meaning land of the big feet. For 3 centuries, sailors confirmed the accounts. Then, mysteriously, the giant population vanished. Anthropologists insist the reports were exaggerated. The original journals say otherwise. Off the coast of California sits Catalina Island. In 1919, cowboy and amateur archaeologist Ralph Glidden began excavating ancient burial sites there. Over the following decades, he claimed to have uncovered nearly 4,000 skeletons. Many measured over 7 feet. One reportedly reached over 9 feet in length. Glidden documented everything with photographs. He opened a small museum displaying his findings. After his death in 1968, the collection was dispersed. Most of the skeletons have never been seen again. Then we must address the Nephilim. The Book of Genesis describes them as offspring of fallen angels and human women, giants who walked the earth in the days before the Great Flood. Ancient Sumerian texts mention the Anunnaki, sky beings of enormous stature. Hindu scripture speaks of the Daityas. Greek myth gives us the Titans. Every ancient culture, separated by oceans and centuries, preserved the same memory. A race of giants once ruled the earth. Then something erased them. Photographs do exist. Faded black and white images circulate showing workers standing beside skeletons that dwarf them. Skeptics dismiss most as hoaxes, and many clearly are. But certain images come from credible local newspapers, archived in legitimate historical societies, predating the era of easy photo manipulation. The 1880 image from Clearwater, Minnesota. The Castelnau photographs from France. The Lompoc Rancho discovery of 1833. These do not vanish under scrutiny. They simply receive no scrutiny at all. Lovelock Cave, Nevada, may be the most documented case. In 1911, miners harvesting bat guano discovered human remains alongside artifacts. Local Paiute legends had long described a red-haired race of cannibal giants called the Saiti-Ka, exterminated by their ancestors in a great battle. Excavators reported skeletons between 7 and 8 feet tall, some with distinctly red hair. The artifacts went to museums in Nevada and California. Some remain on display. The largest skeletons, however, are conveniently described today as unavailable. Researchers have spent decades trying to track the missing remains. Author Richard Dewhurst compiled over 1,500 newspaper accounts of giant skeleton discoveries in North America alone. He cross-referenced museum records, shipping manifests, and personal correspondence. His conclusion was devastating. In nearly every case, the bones were shipped to a central institution and then erased from inventory. The paperwork ends. The trail goes cold. The bones were not lost. The bones were removed. Modern DNA analysis offers tantalizing possibilities. The few skeletal remains still accessible to researchers have, in some cases, produced anomalous results. Mitochondrial DNA from Lovelock specimens reportedly does not match any known Native American haplogroup. Skeletons recovered from elongated skull burials in Paracas, Peru, returned DNA results that geneticist Brian Foster claimed showed sequences not found in any catalogued human population. The results remain controversial. The samples remain restricted. Mainstream skeptics offer reasonable counterarguments. 19th-century newspapers, they note, frequently sensationalized stories for circulation. Measurement standards were inconsistent. Skeletal elongation can occur naturally during decomposition, especially in damp conditions. Many alleged photographs have been definitively traced to hoaxes or art projects. The famous image of a giant skull beside a working archaeologist originated as a Photoshop contest in 2002. Skepticism is not censorship. Sometimes the simplest explanation is also the correct one. Yet skepticism fails to explain the consistency. Hoaxes contradict each other. Genuine patterns do not. From Ohio to Nevada to Georgia to Patagonia to Peru, the descriptions match. Skeletons measuring 7 to 12 feet. Often associated with burial mounds. Often accompanied by copper artifacts and elongated skulls. Often featuring an extra row of teeth, a documented anomaly known as polydontia, mentioned repeatedly in independent reports. Coincidence cannot manufacture this kind of cross-continental consistency. Something else must. So why the silence? One theory suggests institutional inertia. Acknowledging the existence of giant human remains would force a complete rewriting of evolutionary biology, anthropology, and the established timeline of human migration. Careers would end. Textbooks would burn. Another theory points to something darker. That certain discoveries threaten religious or political narratives so deeply that suppression becomes a form of cultural self-defense. Whatever the cause, the silence itself has become evidence. Of what, we cannot yet say. What remains is fragmented but undeniable. Thousands of newspaper accounts. Hundreds of eyewitness reports. Dozens of partial skeletons still accessible in private collections and small regional museums. Local historical societies in towns most people have never heard of preserve evidence the major institutions deny. The truth has not been destroyed. The truth has been scattered. And scattered truth is the hardest kind to erase, because every fragment remembers something the official story would prefer to forget. So the final question remains. Were the giants real? Were they an extinct branch of humanity, perhaps Denisovan, perhaps something else entirely? Were they the Nephilim of Scripture, evidence of something older than civilization itself? Or were they simply the product of a century of misreading and exaggeration? The answer waits inside locked museum vaults, inside unopened burial mounds, inside the dwindling memories of the last people who saw the bones before the bones disappeared. If this investigation moved you, subscribe to the Forgotten Archive. We publish daily explorations into the suppressed history mainstream institutions hope you ignore. Comment below with the discovery you want us to investigate next. Lovelock Cave. Paracas. The Patagonian Giants. The choice is yours. And before you leave, click the video appearing on your screen now. We have uncovered evidence inside a sealed Vatican chamber that connects directly to everything you just heard. The story is only beginning.